Here we have my 1997 GMC Sierra. It's in really good shape. It's been sitting under a pine tree though. You can see all the needles. Oh wow, there's a lot up there. It runs perfect. It's got a 305 5-liter V8. It's 2-wheel drive, no rust. We're gonna put a 6-liter V8 in this. First, I wanna go clean it up, go to the car wash, get it cleaned up, and we'll come back and start tearing into it. I do want to do a 0 to 60 before I pull this engine out, and then we'll do a before and after of the 5-liter versus the 6-liter. I think we know how that's going to go, but I want to see exactly how much time we pick up. So let's go to the car wash. I'm out here at the car wash. I'm going to spray down the engine bay since we're going to be working in here a lot. May as well clean it up. You can see right here, 5-liter Vortec. We're even going to clean the floor mats, so let's get started. It looks much better. Let's go do a 0 to 60 test. Ooh, clean floor mats too. Oh yeah. Oh, this thing runs so good. Why am I taking it apart? Well, I already sold the engine, so I have to get it out, get it to the guy. So it's done, it's happening. It's a done deal. We're gonna do a 0 to 60 test with the old 5-liter 305 V8 before I pull it out. I've tried to do a few on this app that measures your speed and stuff, and it's not working great. So I'm just gonna film it, and then we'll look at the footage later and time it out. It's not gonna be super accurate, but it'll be good enough. There we go, 0 to 60. Cool. I'm guessing it's around 8 or 9 seconds. Okay, this is day one. I'm gonna pull it into the garage, pull the engine, and put the 6-liter in. 6-liter and 4L80E right here. got the 6.0 LQ4 torn down. I even hit it with the needle scaler and got it ready for paint. So we are going to paint it front cover and block. I'm getting a different oil pan, so I don't care about overspray on. They're awesome. And they got V-band attachments there, which is cool. So there it is. Got the grill and the front bumper off. Next, gonna go after the radiator, obviously the fan shroud. We'll take the air box off. Need to get down to the drive shaft, disconnect all the transmission lines, all that stuff. Hopefully have this thing out in a couple hours because the guy who bought this engine wants to come get it. I have moved the truck. Okay, I'm gonna get jack stands under the front frame here. I've got a wheel chock up there already. I just got the fan and upper shroud off. We're almost to the point of no return. I think I just heard this thing run for the last time. It's a big moment for this 27-year-old truck with its original engine. Got some accessories off. I'm just trying to leave the power steering pump here, maybe. Hopefully that'll work. Getting the wiring harness all put together. It does run through the firewall there and goes into the blower motor and resistor. Now I'm going for the wiring harness over here. I'm gonna pull the wiring harness out with the motor and then de-pin the things that I don't need, and we're going to basically wire it up to the new ECM. This is the old ECM. So I'm gonna take these plugs off, get this out of the way, move this out of the way, get the harness out. Should have this thing out today, and hopefully that guy will come pick it up and give me some money that I can spend on other parts that we need. and I'm sticking the rest of the parts back here. This is great storage when you got a pickup. May as well use it, right? Okay, got the hood off. Getting chains ready. Got the motor mount bolts out. We got a floor jack under the transmission. We got gas leaking because we're on a hill. I disconnected the fuel line, so that's cool. I caught a couple gallons actually. And the tank was very low. I left it low on purpose. It's getting really hot outside, so let's get it done. Motor's coming out. Just got the drive shaft disconnected. We're spilling fluid everywhere. Oh yeah. There we go. That's better. We're coming out. There you have it. 305 is out. What a mess. I'm gonna spray the engine bay. Clean this all up before we put the 6.0 in here. And I got some degreaser. I'll spray all that down. I did tape off this hole in the firewall that the wiring harness went through. Everything else should be pretty safe to get wet. Let's just turn that down. But yeah, let's clean it up. Well, we're all cleaned up. Look at the difference. We're down to like bare metal here. Yeah, that'll work. I feel good about getting a new engine in there. Oh man, it's about 98 degrees out right now. This is brutal. Brutal. I decided to spray off the transmission because it was pretty greasy. Glad I did that. It'll be a lot easier to work with. I got the drive shaft in here. We got to replace this with this, so it'll fit the 4L80. You can see how much wider it is, much beefier. So I'm going to work on that. I also took off the exhaust white pipe. I wanted to see if it was going to line up with the headers, but it does not. It's much wider. So that stock exhaust is not going to work. I didn't think it would. My buddy said it would work. He was wrong. Dan, if you're watching this, you were wrong. Again, whatever. It happens. Anyway, I'm going to keep going on this, get this drive shaft ready. Probably need to cut an inch off of here because the 4L80 trans is 1 inch longer overall than the 4L60 transmission. Not a big deal, really. We'll make it work. I just got the 4L80 yoke onto the OBS drive shaft, but I got some bad information online. The U-joint that I was told to get is this Moog 447. It did not fit. As you can see, it's sitting right here. These were too big, for either drive shaft or yoke. So what I did was I took these ends off because the smaller ones actually fit the 480 yoke, and I reused the stock U-joint. So all I had to do was swap over those two ends from the 447. You can see them right here, because these have the clip inside down in there, unlike the stock one that has the clips outside. I don't know why that is. I don't know, everywhere I go says use that U-joint, it fits. It clearly did not fit, but I made it work. So we're good to go. This thing feels good. I just trimmed an inch off of the 4L80 yoke. I used the tape as basically a marker of where to cut. There's what I cut off. And so hopefully this will still slip right in. There might be some sharp edges here I may have to clean up with a file. I already did a test fit, and it went into the transmission about this far. And so it was gonna be too far in where you're gonna hit bumps and it could bottom out, which is why I took an inch off, because this transmission is 1 inch longer overall than the 4L60. So cutting 1 inch off should be perfect. We're back, and I got the transmission up in the air. Yeah, you know, you can use a cherry picker to lift the transmission, why not? I'm gonna take the pan off, change the filter, change the gasket, get all the fluid out of there. I think I have a seal, a new rear seal, and then we're gonna mate it to the 6.0. Here's the pan. Started spraying it with the brake clean. Yeah, you know, there's a good amount of clutch material in there, but we're just gonna put it back together with the new filter. Should be fine. I really like this this setup here. That works great. That looks better. Now I'm gonna use, we can reuse these gaskets actually. I'm just gonna clean it off and reuse that. You know, GM made these reusable gaskets and they're actually pretty good. So why fix it if it ain't broke? All right, I got the new output seal put on. I took off that exhaust hanger bracket that was here, and I cut the ears off. These 4L80s have these ears that stick out really far, unlike the 4L60s. And they will, I've read online that the exhaust will run into them. So, got those cut off. Now we can finally get the motor down and mate these two. And there we have the 6.0 mated to the 4L80E. Okay, I'm ready to stick the motor transmission in. There it is. Black 6-liter, sitting at home on its motor mounts. Transmission is in. On the cross member, which I moved back. These are the original 2 holes. You can see where they're scraped up, and then these holes were already in the frame. That worked out great. Over there, I've got one in. I got to get the other one in, but didn't have to drill anything. That's pretty crazy. So yeah, we're in. Success. Got the valley cover plate on. The black plate looks great, and the intake manifold's on for now. But she looks right at home in there. All right, what's next? Done. All right, I just made some fuel lines, some AN fittings, and some steel braided lines. I'll show you what I did down here to add the Corvette regulator. Now this looks kind of crazy. I didn't want to mess with the stock fuel lines, so this is where the stock fuel filter would come in right here. I got this adapter for metric to AN. All right, so that goes to this tiny 1-inch hose. That's the in from the fuel pump. This is the return. So there's a 90 behind it. There it is. And that goes to the stock return line with another metric to AN fitting. I know it looks crazy. I hope it works. I hope it doesn't leak. And then finally we have our out to the engine. Goes up there. Yeah, they sent me blue and red fittings. I ordered black ones, but whatever, we'll use them. Got the shift linkage hooked up. Had to adjust it out, but luckily they have room for adjustment on those. We got drive shaft in, bolted in, that's on. All right, so drive line is done. That's good. All right, so one big modification that I've really wanted to do is get rid of that vacuum booster and put in a Hydroboost. But I didn't want to spend the money to buy all new parts. Well, I just bought a parts avalanche this week. Didn't even realize it till yesterday. I went and was looking at it, and guess what it has? It's got a Hydroboost. So we should be able to swap all of this over straight to this truck. I've been doing some research, and very little modification needs to be done. I think I have to take the rod out that goes to the brake pedal and just swap it over to this one. So that's what I'm gonna do. Take all this stuff out, all the power steering lines, the cooler, everything, and swap it over to this, because this thing has soft brakes, and these are just known for that. If you've ever had an OBS Chevy, you know that. That would be a good upgrade. Now's the time to do it. It's time to do some wiring. This is the stock harness off the 97 Sierra, and I'm gonna de-pin it and get rid of a ton of connectors. And only going to keep what I have written down here, which I got from lt1swap.com. These wires will get wired in to the standalone harness and will go to the Gen 3 PCM. So in 97, it's a little bit different. They changed a lot of stuff in 98. I found some stuff for 98. It wasn't correct, so I had to do my own. I had to find the 97 pinout and go through everything. You know, basically decide what I want to keep. I'm keeping AC stuff. Even though I'm not going to hook up AC, that'll be for the next guy. Ignition feed, vehicle speed sensors, fuel pump relay, serial data, check engine light, which is the MIL. So that's about it. We're going to take a lot of this out, and it's going to take a little while, but we'll get to it. Right in the thick of it, guys. So far I've removed 3 things that we don't need. There's a lot left to do, but this is what it looks like when you're in the middle. And it looks daunting, but you just take it one wire at a time. It's not that bad. Just gotta do your research beforehand so you know what you're doing. Well, and here we have it. Look at all this. Took all that out. Bunch of connectors, bunch of wires. There's the 4 ECM connectors. So now I'm gonna slowly start to tape it back up and make it look like that. This is where I'm gonna leave it for now until I get everything soldered We'll get it all hooked up, test everything, and then I'll close it all up with some of this, some more tape. But there's really no need to go further right now. It's organized enough where I can get it in the truck, and we'll just go from there. I'm gonna pull out the eBay standalone harness, and there it is. Oh yeah. These are only like 90 bucks on eBay. That's like with tax and shipped. And they're pretty good quality from what I've seen. Now I probably jinxed myself, but as long as every wire is in the right spot, it's a pretty good deal. I have used one before on the Blazer swap, so we're trying it again. So all these loose wires here are what's basically gonna hook to the old wiring harness. A lot of this is gonna be soldered and then put in a connector to connect to the old harness. That'll be the hard part. Everything else will be pretty easy. So this is cool. Just got the headers installed. They look great. And I got some O2 sensors, used ones out of a parts truck. Hopefully they work. We'll see. These are good looking shorty headers. Not gonna worry about the full exhaust until we get it running and driving. But that looks good. That's a good win. I just put the starter in. Had to pull this exhaust header off to make it a lot easier. That's the original S terminal wire, this purple wire, to the truck. I also put some high temp wire loom on the crank sensor wires because they run right down there. And then I pulled the positive and negative cables off of this 06 Avalanche for the battery. They're sitting over here. And I pulled this battery box out of another OBS Chevy so I can mount the battery on the driver's side instead of the passenger side because I want the air box to go over there. I also got transmission cooler lines installed. They don't fit perfect, but I think I can bend them enough to make them work. You can see some of them here. And these are just from Rock Auto, the cheapest ones they had for a 2003 Chevy 2500 HD with a 6.0. I mean, they fit technically, but it ain't perfect. We'll make it work. So I can put this header back on. Got to fill up the transmission fluid. I got a dipstick from the junkyard. Got the battery in. I got this battery junction in here. This will hook up to the alternator once we get that installed. I cut this. This goes to the Gen 3 fuse box, which we're not using. But I need to hook it up to the original fuse box, which is right here. So I got this red wire, and I need to go get some big butt connectors from the parts store. And down here, these two wires came with the standalone harness. I had to extend them, as you can see, these connectors. I had to extend them over here so that it could reach the fuse box, and that's hot all the time. So once the battery's hooked up, that'll be hot all the time because of this red wire here. That's gonna be hot all the time. So that's what we got. I gotta run to the parts store, and hopefully, maybe we'll hear this thing run today. I mean, we should, if all goes well. If I don't get busy with other stuff, we should hear this run for the first time today. That's exciting. All right, been working on the LS swap, doing wiring today, basically all wiring. Had a few issues. The neutral safety switch wasn't talking to the dash or whatever. The gear selector switch wasn't communicating. Found out that it was missing a ground wire. Traced it all the way back to the a ground junction in the original wiring harness. And yeah, it was showing like 9 volts of power, not ground. So I got that fixed, put an eyelet on, grounded it to the back of the engine block. Then I got gear selectors on the dash telling me what gear I'm in. But then the fuel pump wasn't working off the key. I had blown a fuse, ECM B 20 amp mini fuse. Put that in and had to hook up one side to power. I'll show you. Okay, this is from the stock harness. This went to the stock ECM. fuel pump relay control. I've got that hooked to this gator clip, which is ignition. That's a pink wire. Yeah, I cut it back too far. I thought this other pink wire was the ignition that I needed. It's not, but you know what? Mistakes are gonna be made in a swap. You just live and you learn. Key on, that pink wire gets hot, sends power to the fuel pump relay, and then this red wire is the fuse block for the standalone LS harness. So that will power up the LS ECU. So now I think we can try and start it, but the fuel tank is about empty, if not empty. We blew a PCM fuse. I don't know how. I don't know if that happened during cranking. No clue. We got another one put in. Talking about. Okay, I got the transmission cooler and power steering cooler mounted. What I did was I took this piece off of a 2010 Suburban cooling package. It's all the same as all the full-size trucks. I mean, they're everywhere. I unbolted it and then I trimmed it down, cut that, cut there. I even trimmed the back side so it would fit around the bracket here. If I can see that. You can see the trimming I did down there. I used this bracket because it was set up for this cooler. And it fit pretty good. I had to drill some holes. Drilled one here. So that fits. And then power steering, I drilled this hole out bigger. This one seemed to be okay. And I just used a generic oil cooler and zip tied it to this bar that runs behind it. Okay, so that's done. Got the lower radiator shroud in, and then I got the fan on and the belt and the alternator. I'm gonna grab my wallet. We're gonna go for the first drive. Looks like all gauges are working, guys. Temperature's coming up for the first time. There's the other Sierra. brakes feel great. The new Hydroboost setup is nice. Let's see how the transmission shifts, because I did not drive that van before I took it apart. I think that's all 4 gears. It's good enough for me. Hopefully we're not going to overheat. We're getting hot. Temperature gauge got pegged 260. Oh, that's probably accurate. We got nothing in this upper hose. What the heck's going on? I filled the radiator all the way up. All right, so we gotta let it sit. See, there's steam coming out of the overflow. Yeah, you know what? That's how first drives go sometimes. So we'll let it cool down, go get some food, make some lunch. We'll come back, figure that out. Not bad. First burnout, not bad. Shoot these tires up.